I will announce it that we are starting. Nice. And close this one. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us know if everything is working fine on both of our ends. Voice, video, let us know so we can start. Let us know. Can you hear me well, by the way, Min? Can you hear me well? There is no echo.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you perfectly. Yes.
Nice. Okay. Thank you. Let us know, ladies and gentlemen, if everything is working perfectly. Let us know. I also shared, by the way, the Steam page of Alpha Response in the chat.
Thank you.
Highlighted it. Okay. Let us know, ladies and gentlemen, if we can start. Let us know. We are starting slowly right now. Announced it in Discord too. Okay. And like always, ladies and gentlemen, you will be able to ask questions for my Hungarian viewers too. Hölgyek, urak, kérdéseket fel tudjátok tenni a stream végén, úgyhogy készüljetek arra nyugodtan. Jó. Min, let me know if we can start. If you are down to start, let me know.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Nice. Okay, so welcome in the very new episode of my Dev Live show. Today, I'm joined with the creator of Counter-Strike and Alpha Response, Min Lee, aka Gooseman, how a lot of people know him as well. First of all, I would like to say that I'm very honored and very thankful that he joined us for today's episode of my Dev Live show. And like I'm always saying, let's start with a little bit of introduction. So please, introduce yourself for us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
My name is Min, and I've been developing games for over 20 since 2000. So I guess it's been 25 years now. And I guess the most popular game that I worked on was Counter-Strike. So that was in 2000. And after I worked on Counter-Strike, I made some other games. I made a game called Tactical Intervention, which is kind of like Counter-Strike. I also worked on Rust, which is I think most of your viewers probably know Rust.
Yes.
I also worked at Pearl Abyss Studios, which is a Korean company, and they're famous for making a game called Black Desert.
Okay.
So I had the privilege of working there for a few years, and that was a really incredible experience working there, because they are such a really talented company, and the projects that they were working on were just amazing. And so I spent a few years there, and then a couple years ago, I got together with a small group of developers who kind of come from. Some of them used to work in AAA games like Ghost Recon, Call of Duty, and some of them are kind of indie. So basically, we were just kind of like a small group of developers, and we started working on this game called Alpha Response, which is basically the game that I'm working on right now with them. And so basically, it's kind of, I would say it's the easy way to describe the game is basically a combination of Payday plus Counter-Strike.
Okay.
And so I think we try to combine like a lot of the gameplay elements from Payday. It's like a 4-player co-op, and the action is very fast-paced. It's and also we were also big fans of Left 4 Dead, so we wanted to kind of combine a lot of the play style of Left 4 Dead into it, and also the Counter-Strike part of it comes in the part where you get to play as like these elite police forces, and all of the guns that you have in Alpha Response are similar to the guns that you would use in Counter-Strike. So yeah, it's kind of a mashup of all of those 3 different types of games. Yeah.
I see. Thank you for that. So my very first question would be, what was your very first contact with video games as a player, if you remember those days of your past?
Oh, you mean the very first video game that I played?
Yes, and those memories about it, yeah.
Oh, God, wow. I guess that would be, I was probably like 7 or 8 years old. Okay. I started playing games when I was quite young. And it started out playing games on the Commodore 64, which is a very old kind of like computer. And also I played a lot of games in the arcades. Like I used to play a lot of like arcade games, just being a kid growing up.
True.
Back in the 80s and the 90s, arcade games were very popular. A lot of my friends and myself, we would play Street Fighter. Yeah, I played a lot of Street Fighter. I was pretty good at it, and yeah, I played all sorts of arcade games. Like Virtual Cop was probably one of my favorite ones. Yeah, just a bunch. So I grew up playing games my whole life, ever since I was 8. So I was just really around video games for such a long period of my life. So yeah, when the time came for me to actually, I started actually making games when Doom came out.
Oh, okay.
Doom, the very original Doom. So that was probably 1995. Yeah. So in 1995, Doom came out, and I started making these maps for Doom, and that was my very first time actually making games. So yeah. So that's pretty much my career in games. Yeah.
I see. Were your family members, close friends, and parents, by the way, supportive about this decision that you would like to make it into the video game industry? How do you feel about that? It's a more personal question from me.
Yeah, no, it's a very good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, the thing is, when I started working on games, I only did it as a hobby. I never expected to actually turn it into a career, because I went to school as a computer programmer. So I thought that after school I would just become like a computer programmer and just work at like Microsoft or some software company.
Like a normal job, you could say.
Yeah, basically a normal software engineering job. But while I was in school, I was actually making games. Like I was making Counter-Strike, and so when I was doing that, the popularity of Counter-Strike became so high that it started to become apparent to me that I could actually do this for a living. So and also Valve, they actually approached me in 2000, and so when Valve approached me, I just fit, and they were willing to hire me. I just thought, well, okay, this is a great opportunity for me to step into the game industry and become a developer. Because up until that point, I didn't really have any plans to become a game developer. Yeah, and so my parents weren't really. They weren't really nervous. They thought I was just going to be like a software engineer, which was a pretty stable job at the time. So when I became a game developer, they weren't so worried, because they saw the popularity of Counter-Strike, and so they were very happy, and they were very supportive of me. So yeah, I was very fortunate to have Counter-Strike kind of launch my career.
I see.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you would do your path anyway if your parents would not be that supportive, like you mentioned it? Would you be that stubborn in order to chase your dreams?
No, actually, yeah, it's a really good question. I probably would have not chased my dreams, because I'm actually I'm pretty risk adverse. So I don't take risks, right?
I see.
If Counter-Strike wasn't successful, like if it was just like a very unpopular game, I probably would have just done it as a hobby, and I probably would have continued my studies and became a software engineer. So no, I don't think I would have chased the game development path if I couldn't if I didn't see success from what I was doing in my spare time. So yeah, but so I guess I was very fortunate that they became successful, and I was able to kind of see that potential.
I see.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think if it wasn't, I probably would have just kind of I probably would have just worked at Microsoft or something.
I see. You mentioned before, by the way, that you worked on several projects, not just Counter-Strike. Mm-hmm. How was the switch between those projects? Because as I talk to a lot of developers through my show, a lot of them mentioned that when switching from one project to another, for a lot of them, it's hard to leave behind their past projects and start working a new one. Is this the case for you too, or no? Or you could easily leave your past projects behind and start working on a new one?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
I was able to move on to Counter-Strike because my past project was kind of complete. And so I felt like there was nothing more that I could really contribute to it. So I didn't have any issues moving on from it. But, interesting enough, there was one project that I worked on before I worked on Counter-Strike, which was called Navy SEALs. Okay. So I made this mod for Quake called Navy SEALs Quake. And so once I made the mod, I released it, and it was pretty popular, not super popular. And then I took a break from game development. I took a year off to focus on my studies. And then I came back, and I decided I wanted to make Navy SEALs for Quake, the sequel. So I wanted to make like Navy SEALs 2. but I found out that there was another team that just kind of took over and just kind of took over the the community, and they kind of like took the name of. So they basically became the owners of the Navy SEALs project, and
I see.
and they didn't really want me to be involved in it.
But why? But why? If you don't mind me asking, why?
Oh, I don't know. Back then the internet was full of people that were very kind of possessive. They would like take over projects and they'd say, "Oh, this is mine now."
I see.
And so by that time they already took over the community, and then the community believed that they were the ones that were the ones in charge of Navy SEAls.
I see.
And so I was really young. I didn't really want to fight with them. I was just like, fuck it, And so then I basically just moved on, and that's when I worked on another mod called Action Quake 2. And so basically I took a lot of the stuff that I was working on for Navy SEALs, and I kind of approached the Action Quake team, and I said, "Hey, I really love your mod. Do you guys want to use my weapons? Because I made all of these cool weapons for Navy SEALs too." And they said, "Yeah, sure," because it really fits in with their theme. Because their game is kind of like, it's about action movies, but it has a lot of like, they use a lot of realistic weapons. So
true.
A lot of the weapons that I made for Navy SEALs, they were able to kind of put them into Action Quake. And so that's how I kind of joined the Action Quake 2 team. And so I worked on that mod for about maybe less than a year.
I see.
And then, so after I was finished with Action Quake 2, that's when I started working on Counter-Strike. Yeah.
I see. Throughout your career, by the way, sorry for interrupting you, how have you lived through this successful life? So how have you been dealing with success? Because success can change people, right? Into good and bad ways too. How have you been dealing with success throughout your career since working on so many projects?
I've actually managed to stay pretty much the same. Like to be honest, I didn't become like a millionaire when Counter-Strike was released. So it's not like I changed my lifestyle. I was still kind of living the same life. I did make a lot of money, but it wasn't enough for me to like retire and just kind of like change my lifestyle.
And I guess you love doing these things that you love, right? So it was passion for you to work on video games.
And I still enjoyed making games. So I basically just continued to work the same way I would. I mean, at the time when I made Counter-Strike, I was living with my parents, I was actually living with my parents up until like 2004. Yeah, so I was probably like 23 years old, and I was still working on Counter-Strike. And so actually, when Valve hired me, I was still in school, and I was still living with my parents, and it was a comfortable lifestyle for me. I was just kind of like making games in my parents' basement. I didn't have to worry about
rents,
like
paying the rents,
that kind of shit. So so it allowed me to really focus on just developing and just
what you would like to do.
And so so my lifestyle actually hasn't really changed too much. I see. I moved out of my parents' house when I was I don't know, 25, 26. It was probably in like 2008. That's when I actually moved to Korea to work on my game Tactical Intervention.
I see.
And so that was probably my biggest life change. That's when I really had to I was moving to a new country, and I had to like set up there and just kind of get accustomed to a different culture. And it was really a really eye-opening experience, just like learning the Korean culture and getting accustomed to it. But it was incredible. I really loved it. It was just I mean, being able to experience a different culture like that was it's a huge learning curve, but also it's a huge like personal growth. You grow as a person.
Very true.
And like, because prior to that, I was just kind of working by myself in a basement. So I didn't really get a chance to meet people. I didn't really get a chance to like interact with people. So my social skills were not very good. So when I came to Korea, it was an opportunity for me to just become more like a human being, like more like a normal person, I guess. Yeah. Because like as I said, prior to that, I was mostly just kind of just kind of like just guy that just lived in his parents' house, and I was very kind of I didn't have very good social skills, and I was just kind of like,
Yeah, but that's
you know.
passion, in my opinion, right? So you were so much
Yeah,
passionate about the game
yeah,
that you had to do it, right? To
yeah.
focus just on the
Well,
game. That's how it's
yeah,
brought success to the table, right?
exactly.
So
Yeah, yeah. It's because I enjoyed making games so much that I didn't really think about like social life. I didn't really think about
true,
going
true,
out and
true.
like meeting people. So I mean, that's what happens when you love your work. If you
True,
love your work
true,
so much,
exactly,
it
exactly.
doesn't feel like work. So yeah,
It puts you in this
that's
bubble, right? It's a shield
yeah,
around
yeah,
yourself, and it's
exactly.
just you and the
Yeah,
project that
yeah,
you're doing and working on. Yeah,
yeah. So basically, yeah, I was just really just enjoyed my work, and so I didn't have much time to kind of grow as a person. But yeah, moving to Korea was a big change for me because I basically became more just I learned more stuff and just like stuff outside of game development, just working with other people like face to face, you know. So that was it was kind of it was very challenging for me, but I mean it was good though. It was good for me to kind of get that experience for sure. Yeah,
you see, you see.
yeah,
I believe in this statement of mine that all us creators who create our own craft, they always tend to put our inner self into the craft we make. Either it's about some past or some learning about future stuff, even if it's positive or negative response to these times of ours. Is this statement of mine
yeah.
true for your work when you worked on video games? And if your answer is yes, what examples could you bring to the table? What examples could you name us?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good point, and it's true for me as well.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of the games that I made, like for example, Counter Strike, was influenced by my love for like action movies and just
Okay.
like my love for uh like like action video games. Like so, I used to play a lot of like Rainbow Six, and also I was influenced by a lot of like arcade games as well, like Virtual Co-op and Time Crisis. People don't realize, but a lot of those games that I played in the arcades, I took a lot of those that feeling of the combat in like Virtual Co-op and like and those kind of that shooting mechanics. It really influenced me in making Counter Strike. Just I wanted to capture that feeling of when I was playing Virtual Co-op or
True.
Time Crisis. You know, you play as a cop and you're shooting these bad guys.
Yeah.
That kind of experience really like it motivated me to kind of make Counter Strike, and I tried to borrow a lot of what I kind of experienced from playing those games, and I kind of put them into to my work. Yeah. So I am, yes, I definitely am influenced by a lot of like movies and video games and a lot of other things that I consume. They really just kind of give me some ideas on what I can put into my games. So yeah, I was a huge fan of like just a lot of great action movies. Like, you ever seen this movie called The Professional?
I think I know the name, but
it's called Leon. I think it's called Leon, and I think it's called The Professional. Basically, it's a French movie, and there's this hitman, and he has to take care of this little girl. But in the movie, there's a lot of great action, like a lot of cool shooting. And I remember watching that movie, and it was a huge inspiration for me when I made Counter Strike, because it just felt so cool. You know, just the way that he was. A lot of the guns that he used were so cool as well. And I think that was one of the inspirations that I had for adding like dual Berettas in Counter Strike. Because a lot of people ask me, why did you add those dual Berettas? They don't really. It doesn't really fit the theme of counter-terrorist. I added it because I was such a big fan of that action movie where, you know, like I used to watch a lot of John Woo movies. John Woo is this Hong Kong director.
Love that, yeah.
And so basically he made and every movie he had like dual pistols.
There was even a game, by the way, if you remember that.
Yeah. Stranglehold.
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
Yeah,
I played that through
cool.
on PS3,
Yeah, oh, that was a great game.
Yeah.
It was very much like Max Payne, right?
True, very true.
So those movies kind of influenced me into adding that gun in Counter Strike, like the dual pistols.
Nice.
So yeah, so I'm definitely very influenced by what I consume in pop culture. Yeah.
I love that, by the way, what you have said about like reliving your childhood throughout the memories and bringing those memories into the games you made. Because I always say this every time I speak to anyone, is that like reliving your childhood memories is very important, right? If you're sticking to it,
sure.
it will help you go on with your journey and help others too in growing, like really, you mentioned, as a person.
Oh, definitely. I think we're kind of like our youth is so influential in how we perceive in our tastes. You know,
I totally agree
like
with that.
I grew up watching a lot of like kung fu movies, like martial arts movies, and I consumed a lot of Japanese culture. I used to watch a lot of Japanese cartoons, and so that kind of influenced me in my tastes in just how I like to make my games. So yeah.
I see. Speaking of this topic, by the way, of fighting games as well, you mentioned that you have a past in fighting games as well, and you were very good at them, and you still love those genres.
Yeah, I used to play Street Fighter a lot. Yeah.
How is that you have never been working on like very core fighting games, or have you?
No, actually, okay. I haven't. But it's one of the genres. It's one of the genres that I would like to work on. Okay. I do feel like, but you know, there's a thing about fighting games that I've always found kind of I've always found kind of difficult for mainstream. See, the thing about when I play a fighting game, in order for me to become good at it, I have to have really, really good reflexes. But I feel like, I feel like there's not the number of people that play a fighting game, I think the majority of them, they don't really have the reflexes required to really become good at them. They kind of just kind of randomly kind of press buttons. Yeah. We call them button smashers. And so that's kind of who I was. I never really had the reflexes good enough to become like to really become like a high level fighting player. And so that's why I felt like fighting games are very kind of they're kind of niche. They're kind of like I mean the latest versions of Street Fighter, they made them more accessible to a larger audience. True. by kind of like making them simpler, making them a little bit easier. But I think at the very core of fighting games, they require such high skill that like in order to fully enjoy a fighting game, you really have to have really good reflexes, you know. True. So but yeah, so I think the point I'm trying to make is I've always wanted to make a fighting game that was more accessible to a larger audience, where like you didn't have to have like super good reflexes, like, because if you think about it, when a fighting game, like when you're playing against the other player, like you have to like watch him like begin his attack and then you do a block. Sure. But like who can be that fast? Not like it's like a split second, right? Sure. So I don't know. I was thinking of if I could make a game that's more accessible is by maybe slowing down the animations a little bit, so you can actually like predict the attacks a bit. I guess making it more like making a fighting game, but having the combat feel kind of more like Dark Souls or something, where you can actually kind of predict, or you can see the attacks kind of coming and you can kind of prepare.
More tactical and slower, yeah, it makes sense.
Not as slow as Dark Souls, but a little bit slower than what you have in Street Fighter. Because in Street Fighter, when someone presses the attack button, his attack comes out in like a fraction of a second. True. So the other player, he cannot, like, he's not really predicting he's just kind of like preemptively blocking. True. It's not a reaction. It's not a reaction to the other player. It's more of a kind of like he's just always kind of defensing kind of thing.
It's a guessing game, let's say.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a guessing game. Yeah. And to me, I don't like that. I don't really like, because it's a guessing game, it doesn't really feel like there's skill involved. I'd rather have it be like a reactive game where you can see your opponent, you can react to it like in time, and yes, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of hard to describe.
No, I understand. Like to do. I totally understand.
But yeah, I guess the point is I would. If I wanted to make a fighting game, I would probably want to make it more accessible. So it's not so much a guessing game, but it's more kind of like it's more of a reactive game, kind of like in Dark Souls, where you can actually kind of predict your opponent's moves, or you can actually see him do the move and prepare for it, like or something. But maybe just like increasing the reaction time, kind of thing. But anyways, yeah, I mean that's probably something that I would probably want to work on in the future. Like if if I had the chance to. But
I see.
yeah. Also, I'm a big fan of like racing games. I like
Okay.
racing games as well. So,
Okay.
but
You could combine all those genres together, right? A racing, fighting, shooter game,
yeah,
and they
I mean,
met
like
a new
driving your
genre.
car, get out your car, beat the guy up. I mean, basically, it's
Like
like
in
GTA.
Sleeping Dogs, you could do that, right?
Dude, I love that game. That was an
Yeah.
awesome game. I'm so sad
Yeah,
that they
me
couldn't
too.
make a sequel.
Yeah,
That
same,
was an
same,
incredible
same.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that was really good. Actually, the people that made that game, they actually live in the same city as me. They're very close by. So
Nice.
it's very
I
cool.
had an
Yeah.
awesome conversation, by the way, of the author of the story of that game. Yeah. So.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I heard they're gonna make a movie, but
Yeah,
actually,
I'm looking forward to
li-
it. But who knows? Maybe a new game
not
too,
sure
because
if
movie
it's,
can predict a new game, right? So they are bringing back maybe the full franchise. Who knows? Yeah. Throughout the journey, by the way, of you being a game developer for so many years, for all the games that you have made, or for most games that you have made, what was your favorite part of the process of making those games? If you can name those favorite parts next to the games.
Well, I think for me that's pretty easy to name. For me, my favorite part was basically playing the game with people.
Okay.
Just like sharing the experience, playing the game with like strangers, and seeing how they react. And so watching them play the game and watching them kind of experience it and watching them make mistakes, I was able to kind of see which part of the game I needed to change.
I see.
So that's kind of how Counter-Strike was made. When those were the most fun times when we were just playing the game with people, and they would kind of give us feedback, and we would just kind of take all of that feedback in, and it allowed us to kind of see the mistakes in our game design. Yeah, I think that's probably definitely the most enjoyable part, to see people that really enjoy the game, and to see people that understand what the game is about, like the vision of the game. It's very cool. Yeah, because sometimes players will play the game and they'll say, "Oh, you need to change this, you need to change that," and like they want you to change the game to something that's completely different.
That's not
like, they
the
want
game
you to,
that you wanted to make.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not the game that I want it to become. So it's like, it's trying to understand the difference between like. So usually when I take feedback from the community, I have to kind of filter out the feedback where I feel like he wants me to make a game that's not exactly what I want to make. So I don't think I should be paying attention to his feedback. But there's other feedback where people are giving like feedback that is objectively will help the game project. And so it's all about kind of like listening to people who you feel kind of understand the vision of the game that you want to make. True.
You guessed, by the way, my next question, because speaking of this topic, I wanted to ask that how do you balance of sticking to your vision and also like listening to the feedback, because it's a hard balance in my opinion, right? So
yes, very good question, because sometimes people always say you should make games for other people to enjoy.
True.
But at the same time,
I never agreed with that. I always say that in my opinion the creator have to have a very strict and strong vision, right? Because that's
exactly. You have to enjoy your own game.
True.
You have to enjoy your own game, or else it's just kind of like you feel like you're just a slave to the audience,
to the players. Exactly.
And you're never gonna do a good job that way. You just because you have no passion.
True.
You like exactly. You have to have a bit of both, and sometimes you have to listen to the community because sometimes you can make it like a design choice that is not really like you think it's a good idea, but when you play it and then other people play it, you realize that it doesn't really work with the general audience. So sometimes you have to kind of listen to the audience and kind of take their feedback. So it's kind of hard to decide how to decide which feedback to listen to and which ones not to, because it's very subjective. So I mean, it's just kind of like sometimes you just got to feel it. So there's no to me there's no rule that I have that says okay, that's good feedback and that's not good feedback. It's basically just I have to kind of just listen to the player and then decide whether or not, and also a lot of it it depends on how many people say the same thing. Like if more than like if a lot of people are complaining about one aspect, then to me that means that there might be something there that I need to fix. But if there's only like a small minority of people, that's it, then you can tend to ignore those ones at times. Yeah.
I see. You have spoken about your favorite parts of the process of making games, but what about the most challenging parts of the process of making games for so many years?
I think, well, when I was making Counter-Strike, I was pretty young, so I didn't really have a lot of technical knowledge of how game engines work. So I would say, as I was growing up, the biggest challenges were just like learning how networking works. For me, like networking was a very challenging concept to fully understand. Like all of the technical details behind like networking infrastructure, like packet loss, ping, and all that stuff. That was pretty challenging to fully grasp and understand that. But other than that, I'm trying to think of like any other challenges. I think probably the biggest challenge is the mental aspect of game development, because when you're making a game, there's so many people discussing your game. You're getting a lot of criticism. You're getting a lot of feedback, and it affects you mentally. It's
true.
And you have to.
You can't avoid it.
I had to. You can't avoid it, right? And you have to you have to listen to all of that feedback. You have to you have to go through a lot of negative criticism.
True.
And sometimes you have to like not take it personal and just try to understand what the real problem is. Because sometimes when people send me criticism or email, a lot of it is kind of like it's like personal attacks, and sometimes it's sometimes it can be very personal. So sometimes you have to kind of extract from the attacks and try to understand what is he complaining about.
I always say this, by the way, sorry for interrupting you, that I believe that all people on the internet who like do these very personal negative messages or leave very personal negative reviews about games, they are just angry people because of their life issues. They are not angry because of the game mostly. And I feel like that's why I started this show of mine, to really build a bridge between players and developers, because I feel like it's easier to blame a company and developers if they do not see the person behind it, because they think that it's just a click, right, and the game is done. But it's like you mentioned, it's real human beings who have life, just me and you and everyone else. So it's like you have to understand that if you start to criticize and go towards a very personal negative message, then you will be able to make very problematic issues for that person and his mental or her mental, which is crazy to me, because it happens a lot of times these days, and it's bad. It's bad for the whole industry.
But it's kind of human nature, I think, because a lot of the people that are criticizing me, they tend to be quite young. I would assume they're pretty young. Because I remember when I was actually quite young, I used to send email to a lot of like other game developers, and I was like, man, this game sucks. You should change this. You should change that. So I was kind of
it's karma right now.
Yeah, so it's kind of like karma. So basically, I'm getting the same feedback that I used to give to them. So I can understand where they come from, because when I was sending those emails, those suggestions, I didn't really understand how much work or what it meant to be a game developer, or how hard it was.
True.
So when I would send them suggestions, I would tell them to do this, but I didn't realize how difficult that was to do. So I can understand when people send me suggestions. Is sometimes they don't fully understand how difficult or what they're trying to ask me is like. They think, oh, it's like you can do that in a day, right? Just come on, hurry up, fix that. But they don't realize, no, shit, that actually affects a lot of other parts of the game. So yeah, that's always difficult to explain to them, and sometimes it's impossible, because it's like there's too many people and I can't really explain to everyone. I can't really do that because
it's gonna break. Right? You have to focus on the game and making it. Yeah.
And it's gonna break another feature, and it's gonna break this feature. So sometimes they don't see that. So sometimes I just have to kind of ignore those suggestions. But I try to understand what he really is complaining about, and so, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, yeah, because you have to kind of like from a mental aspect, you have to kind of not take those feedback too personal.
Personal, yeah.
And it's something I've become quite like I've become better at, because when I first started working on Counter-Strike, it was difficult because I was really young and I was taking criticism a bit too hard, and it affected me mentally. And but these days, after you do this for maybe 10 or 15 years, you get better at it, and you just kind of understand, okay, he's not mad at me, he's just kind of like, he's venting, he's passionate. And so I just have to try to understand what exactly he's kind of upset with, and try not to take it too personal, because I mean, everybody screams, I scream as well. I scream at people in traffic, when I'm in my car, I want to kill this guy in front of me. That's but it doesn't mean I really want to kill him, right? True. It's just I'm just reacting. I'm just reacting to my emotional state, and so I can understand why people would do that to me. It's just
and on the internet it's easier, right? Because you don't see the other person.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't have to be scared of smacking back.
Yeah, it's super easy. I mean, even when I'm in my car, I feel like it's easy, right? I'm like, oh god, this fucker, he's in his car. I don't see him, so I can scream at him. I can do whatever. Like, I'll honk my horn. So I can understand on the internet it's even easier. So it's just so that's why when it happens to me, I try not to take it too personal. And I understand this person is just a human being. He's just being emotional, and so. And by understanding that, it allows me to kind of cope with it better and try not to take it too personal. And so, because most of them are quite nice people. Because I mean, sometimes I've met a lot of people that have said bad things about me, like in person, and they turn out to be just fine, just decent people, and they were just kind of emotional, and they always kind of apologize and say, I didn't really mean that. So it helps to kind of see that part of it, and try to understand that the people that are complaining about your game, they're probably passionate about it, and that's probably a good thing too, right? Because like, if they're complaining about the game, that means a part of them kind of likes it,
they care. So they want, yeah, exactly.
They care. Exactly. They care about it, right? So that could be a positive, and so I try not to take it too negative, and just try to accept that and try to just get to the bottom of their feedback. So
was it hard, by the way, to learn this mentality of yours, to not take everything negative too much personal?
Yeah, it just I guess it's yeah, it was something you just get better with time. The more you experience it, the more you become more you build kind of like a shield. And
true.
So it's just something that just kind of comes with time. And I wish I could just tell other developers, hey, just don't worry. But it's something that they just have to experience themselves.
I agree with that.
In order to build that shield, because even though I tell them, hey, don't worry about it, it's not a big deal. These guys,
it's always easier to say than to do that, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, they don't really want to kill you. They're just saying that, right?
True. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. For sure. Yeah. I mean, we all got death threats. Like, you probably got death threats too, right?
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like, I don't know. It's crazy that we are living in this world of people can make these things, but it's life, like you mentioned, and it's human nature.
It's life, and it's human nature, and it's just the way people socialize on the internet, and
true.
We just have to kind of just kind of understand that it's basically just people's emotions.
True.
But yeah. Definitely, that was probably the hardest part about being a game developer, because you're so exposed to the public, and this goes the same for like people who are on YouTube, like yourself, or like streaming.
I mean,
you probably have a bigger audience, and so you probably get a lot of criticism as well, and so you have to deal with that, and so
and it was a learning phase for myself too, like you mentioned. So in the first time I was too naive, and I was too like scared, or I wouldn't say shy, because I was never that shy. It's just like I was too sad if I got some negative feedback, but then you learn how to deal with it. So yeah, it's a learning course.
Yeah. And but I think it makes you stronger as a person as well.
Very true. Yeah.
And like, to be honest, I think it kind of improves your, like, on a personal level. When I deal with other people in real life, I can be more calm and not try.
True,
Like,
very
I don't,
true.
when they say something and it's not very nice to me, I can sort of understand. Okay, well,
You can just slow down the time in your mind, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not gonna react so
True,
emotionally. So
True.
except when I'm driving. When I'm driving, I like fucking get out of my way. Yeah.
You need to make a driving game, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah,
When people
Yeah.
where people can shout to each other, yeah.
yeah. I don't know what it is about driving that infuriates me. I think I tend to be a pretty impatient person. So
I see.
when I'm driving and I see someone else that's doing something that's like, what the hell, man? It just kind of makes me kind of irritated because but anyways, that's just a pet peeve of mine. But yeah.
By the way, since you mentioned that you work on so many projects and it required working with so many people, my question would be about this topic. Do you believe in perfect synergy between team members, or is it something that develops out through the journey of working together on projects?
Oh, sorry. Can you repeat the first part of that question?
Yeah,
I didn't catch
so
it.
you mentioned that you worked on so many projects, and I guess it required working with so many people together, right? So my question would be that do you believe in perfect synergy between team members when you work together with other people, or is it something that develops out through the journey of working together, or is it a mix of both?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Thank you.
Because I've worked with so many different people, and some of them I can just get along with so well. Like I can we're just like we were meant for each other. And others I've had a difficult time. Their working style is just very different than mine, and perfect synergy. I feel like it's something. It can be improved with. Like if you work with someone that you don't really get along with, you can slowly build. In my experience, I can slowly build kind of I can change my work style to kind of better fit his work style a little bit. But I don't think I can ever reach like perfect synergy with this person because his personality is just so fundamentally different than mine. So a lot of times I would just try to kind of be careful when I work around this guy. So or sometimes So basically, I just try to maybe try to avoid working with him too much. But if it's unavoidable, if I have to work with him, then I tend to try to just pay more attention to how I'm like behaving and kind of thing. Because for example, I've worked with people who can be very sensitive to like criticism. So like if I say, hey, this particular code that you wrote is it's kind of like it's not very good for like it's very it's not very good performance. It's causing like it's increasing the frame rate. It's decreasing the frame rate. And so basically I try to tell it to him in a very I guess like diplomatic way. I don't like I have to be careful how I approach him.
True.
Like yeah. So sometimes I'll say something like, hey, how do you think we can improve the optimization in this code? And I won't blame him for it, kind of thing. So I'll just be careful not to blame him. So I mean that's just one example of how I have to kind of watch how I interact with different people. And yeah, it could be challenging, especially remote. Especially like if I work remotely with someone, a lot of times what I say over Slack, it gets misinterpreted easily. Because sometimes I'll type something and he'll kind of take it like in a bad way. Like he doesn't read the tone of my message. It's happened to me a lot of times, yeah. Exactly, and myself as well. Sometimes I'll read someone else's messages, and sometimes I might take it a bit off.
Sure.
And that's just the challenge of working like over the internet remotely.
Sure.
Yeah. Is there any way to kind of alleviate those problems? Yeah. Having like more like face-to-face meetings, I found that was actually very helpful.
Sure.
Like every week we would kind of have a face-to-face and just kind of talk about what we're working on. And so that in those meetings we can have a more personal conversation with people, and we can kind of like discuss any like issues that we might have had. So I think those are helpful, like to have more face-to-face meetings and so that way it allows you to better understand your coworkers and to kind of see them like on a more to see how they're emotionally feeling about working together.
It's easier to get their reactions and read their reactions. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When's the idea of?
Go for it. Sorry, yeah. But I've been pretty lucky because most of the people that I work with, I would say, like 85% of them, I got along with great. I didn't have to worry about I have to be careful when I'm dealing with this guy or this girl. But I was very lucky. I was able to. I would say, 85% of the people I work with, I really enjoy.
Do you think it's because you were always passionate about the projects you made and you always like put the projects above the personal things?
Yeah. I think so. When I was at Valve, I would say everybody I was working with at Valve, they were super professional and they always put the project above like their personal issues. So
true.
And that was
very important. Yeah.
That was very important. And I mean, and part of that is because we understood like we were getting paid. This is a job,
true.
We were professionals.
It's just fun, right? To make games.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But when you work on projects that are not when you're not getting paid, they're kind of like indie projects or they're kind of like it just like unpaid projects. That's when it becomes more. You can have more problems because people's feelings become more personal, and they feel like in order for the game to be successful, we have to do it my way. Because it's so critical, we have to do it my way. So they become more antagonistic, more passionate about like doing things their way because they're not getting paid, and so they feel like they have to make the game successful, and so that's when the challenges can arise.
True. Speaking of a game or games being successful, in your read, what is a successful game? Throughout the journey of your life as a game developer, you made so many games, right? And you also played and saw so many games being successful, and your own games as well. What is success in your read with your game?
Well, I mean, aside from like financial success, which is kind of obvious. I mean,
true.
But I think for me, a successful game is just basically a game where I can find like my target audience, and I can find people that can understand what I'm trying to achieve with that game, and can sort of enjoy it for what it is. And for me, that to me, that's all I could ask for. Like if I can find like a large, it doesn't have to be large. I mean, I don't mind making games that are just kind of niche. Like a lot of some of the games I worked on, like Tactical Intervention, it was kind of niche. But there was people that did enjoy playing the game, and for me, that it felt good to have that. So for me, I think I just enjoy making games where I can find just a small group of players that can enjoy it. But I think I have to. But I mean, obviously, we have to be realistic, and I have to make money. So
true. We can't avoid it, right? We are not living in a perfect world without money. Yeah.
I'm always trying to think about. I need to make a game that kind of caters to a wide audience, and in order to make a living. So
true.
Yeah. But I mean that's why we do it. I think we just do it because we just want to make someone else happy. We want to find our players that can find some enjoyment in our games. Yeah.
True. What's the balance, by the way, when you're targeting an audience? What's the balance between like sticking like the vision to casual or to core audience, or both? Yeah. Like how do you balance those two audiences or two player bases?
It's a good
Which
question.
is more important for example, a story game or a multiplayer game, in your opinion?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a tough question. And it's a good one too, because when we make our games, we always have an idea. Okay, these are the kind of players that I envision our game that will be playing it. And so sometimes it's important to really focus on that audience and try not to bring in too many other players. Like when you make a game, you don't want to make like, let's bring in people who like Fortnite. Let's bring in people who like other genres.
True.
By making your audience too wide, you kind of dilute the game.
True.
And so it becomes. Someone said one to me. He says, if you're making a game for everybody, you're making a game for nobody.
Yeah.
So what it means if you make your game and the audience is too wide, like nobody's gonna like it because it's too it's too everything. It's too I think it's important to really identify your audience and try to focus on them and just like narrow down like your game vision to just kind of like address them and try not to worry about pulling in other people from different audiences too much. Like build your own audience first, and then if it's a small audience, then maybe you can try to pull in other people. But first, it's good to have like have a strong idea of who you're targeting.
True.
Like and to just kind of understand that there's an audience for that kind of game. So. Yeah. So I mean, like for example, when we started working on Alpha Response, our audience was like we thought we wanted to make a game that people who enjoy Payday and kind of Left 4 Dead, and kind of like something like that, and also like games like Counter-Strike as well. So basically, we had a pretty focused audience group that we kind of wanted to focus on, and yeah, hopefully we can kind of make them happy with our game. So we'll see. Yeah.
When the idea came into your head of Alpha Response, by the way, let's switch to that game too. Let's talk about that game. How did it happen in your life?
It wasn't actually. I didn't start the project. It was started by another group of indie developers, some of them actually had worked on like my previous game, Tactical Intervention. And so basically that's how they approached me. So they said, hey, we're working on this cool co-op game, and we want you to help out with it. And so when I saw it, I felt like, oh, this is really cool, because I'm a big fan of like Left 4 Dead and Payday, and so I really wanted to make a game that was kind of like those like those two games. And I wanted to get away from PvP games, because I feel like games like Counter-Strike and Valorant, they're too well established that it's very difficult to make a PvP game right now, because
that will challenge them. Yeah,
exactly, because I mean you see a lot of these big, even AAA companies have a hard time making PvP games, because with PvP games you have to like you have to convince players to play your game for a long time,
or to build something unique, like you mentioned Fortnite, right?
Yeah,
Fortnite did that.
Exactly. And so it's a big challenge. So I felt that making a co-op game would be a little bit easier, because like the audience, they can just they can play the game for like a few weeks, and they can put it away and just kind of enjoy it like in as a single player, kind of like or not a single player, but kind of like in a short experience. They don't have to play the game every day for like a month, or like. So that's why I feel like I wanted to just work on something like this that was more casual, I would say. Yeah. So and I felt like it was a good it was a nice project to work on for me, because a lot of what they were doing was really kind of similar to what I kind of wanted to work on at the time. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Switching back to more personal questions again, how have you changed as a person in other territories of your own life from being a game developer for so many years? So basically rephrasing the question, how game development life affected your everyday life in other territories?
Yeah. Oh, this is a really good one.
Thank you.
I think being a game developer, you learn to become I think because you deal with the public so much, you deal with players and people in the people that play your game and the fans. It kind of it forces you to become more like mentally stronger, like more able to deal with criticism. Because actually, I have a lot of friends in my life who are not game developers. Like they do accounting and those kind of thing. And when I deal with them, they can be very fragile, like from criticism. Like sometimes somebody will say something to them, they're like, "Oh shit," they'll be like super emotional. So they aren't able to accept criticism like very well. But as a game developer, we're so used to it, and we're like, yeah, okay, it's
on a daily basis to fight, right?
yeah, exactly. We've been insulted so many times that we feel like we kind of
go again.
Yeah, we kind of grow a thick skin, so it's like we're kind of accustomed to it a bit better. So I think that's a good thing because it kind of prepares you mentally, and it kind of yeah. So I think any job that kind of puts you in front of a lot of people, you become much just stronger, like just like mentally, and able to just deal with criticism better. Like any YouTuber that does this for a living, they must be extremely used to these kind of things, right?
True. Very true.
So I think that's probably that's one way in which I have grown outside of like game development.
I see.
I can't really think of any others, but that was probably the biggest one and probably the most helpful one. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Is there anything?
Oh, also, it allows me to deal with failure because, like a lot of times, well, a lot of my past projects they failed. I wasn't always making successful games. It allowed me to understand. Okay, well, even though you make one failure, you can just move on and just try to learn from those failures and try to kind of really understand why did they fail. And try to understand the reasons behind it, and hopefully you can sort of take those and kind of learn from those mistakes. That's one thing that I've been able to do with my past failure. Because I think that's been pretty helpful in just like being able to deal with failures, even in life as well. Because now when I fail at things like in life, I'm able to kind of process them a bit better.
I see. Yeah. How do you balance your family time, work time, and free time in your life?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm like I don't have any kids, so I'm pretty I have a lot of time to actually focus on my work.
I see.
But I'm married, so I do have a wife, and it's important for me to take time out and to get away from development because it's really I always try to at least spend like every day I'll spend 1 hour just doing some exercise, maybe going for a jog, and I find that really helps me mentally. Like when I go for a jog, I'm able to just like release a lot of my stress. Yeah, so that's been very helpful. Like I try to just get out in nature. I mean, I live in a pretty nice city, and we have nice weather, so that's kind of nice to be there, to be able to just get outside and just kind of enjoy nature. That's been very therapeutic. So, but definitely, yeah, I try to spend at least like maybe like every week I'll spend like one day just staying with my wife and just spending time with her. And sometimes we like to go for hiking. Like we like to go for hikes. So, but that's been very helpful for me to kind of disengage from it because, yeah, as you know, spending too much time at the computer can be very bad for your mental.
True. Very true.
Yeah, try to at least spend like an hour, maybe a day, just getting away from it.
True. Because it's at the end of the day, it's health, right? And if you are not healthy enough, then you won't be able to live for your passion and for your family. Very true. Very true.
For sure. Yeah. That's the most important part to focus on your mental health and also your physical health as well. Because
true.
I used to have actually when I was younger, I used to have a lot of problems with my back. Like I used to have a lot of bad back problems. I would get like a lot of back pains, and so basically I went to a physiotherapy. He told me I should be doing like exercises to strengthen my back. So I'll do sit-ups and I'll do like these things, and so now I don't have any back problems at all. So it's important to pay attention to your physical being as well, because sitting for too long can be very difficult. Very true.
Yeah. What about the future? What is future holding for you? What games would you like to make in the future? If it's spoiler time and I can't ask it, it's fine. But if I can, I would be very happy to get an answer from you.
So right now I'm just focused on Alpha Response, really trying to make it the best that we can make it.
Okay.
But after this project, there's some ideas I would love to work on. I used to play. I don't know. Did you ever play a lot of mods for Half-Life? Like
I played some of them. Yes.
Have you heard of this mod called The Specialists?
No.
Okay. Well, it was kind of like The Matrix. You know the movie
Okay.
The Matrix?
Yeah, I do.
Like,
I even played the
was a lot
games
like,
and I saw the movies too. Yeah.
okay. Well, this mod, it was a mod for Half-Life. It was like, it felt like playing The Matrix because you would do dives and jump, and it was like really over the top. So you had like a lot of gun action, but you also had a lot of these kind of like these cool abilities where you can like it kind of felt like playing The Matrix. I think a game like that, more updated in today's with today's graphical engines, I think that would be pretty popular.
True, I agree with that.
Because
Yeah,
it was pretty popular back in the day, and I think those kinds of games, they kind of I think they can kind of like find an audience somewhere because
because they are fun gameplay wise, in my opinion, and they are fast.
they were pretty fun.
True,
and they're kind of like
True.
So I wouldn't mind revisiting kind of a game style like that. And also, I probably would want to explore working on like a fighting game. Yeah,
we talked about that. Yeah.
But
or
I think
mix
if
of
I was
everything.
if I was gonna do it, I would make it first person because I've always liked first person games.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of third person because I like the immersive nature. I like being immersed in the environment, in the world. The immersion of first person is much more my personal tastes. Yeah.
I see.
Like,
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Have you played the recent Indiana Jones game?
Yes,
Indiana
yes,
Jones?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's
I had a pretty cool fighting like first person.
True. And it
was
was
pretty
also
cool.
a very nice touch for the point and click adventure genre as well, because it had a really good like puzzle mechanic.
Yeah. So that was a great game. Yeah, really.
It's true. Very true. Okay.
Yeah.
Before I go into some more questions, are you down to answer some questions from my chat as well?
For sure, yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us know if there is any question. Let us know. Hölgyek, urak, hogyha bármilyen kérdés van, nyugodtan kérdezzetek. Let us know if there is any question. Let us know. Let us know any question. Any question. Bármilyen kérdés. Speaking, by the way, while we are waiting of community-oriented questions, of alpha response, let's get back to that game again. Are you guys planning to release the game on consoles as well, or just PC for now?
Yeah. Right now we're just focused on PC.
Okay.
But hopefully, if it does well, I think it would go well on the consoles. Yeah.
Okay. What about physical editions? Because I'm a fan of physical editions when it comes to video games. What about that?
Well, yeah, it would have to do very well in order, and we'd probably have to work for a publisher for that. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm not against it. I'd love to do a physical copy.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let us know, ladies and gentlemen, if there is any question. Hölgyek, urak, bármilyen kérdés? Any questions? Let us know. Don't be shy. Let us know the questions. If there's any. While you are waiting, another question, by the way, from me. What would be your advice for developers, even for those developers who are starting out, or even those who are veterans in the industry, but they still would like to learn, take the learning course?
I think the most helpful thing for me was to find a community of developers and to be a part of a community, because I found that when I was working by myself, it could be very discouraging, because being a game developer, if you do it by yourself, it's very isolating and you can lose motivation very easily. So I've always found that being a part of a community group on Discord, like joining a community, even like in person, like if in your city you have like a development community group, it's super helpful to be a part of that, and just to come to interact with other developers.
Sure.
I feel that that's one of the most helpful things that you can do as a developer, because it builds connections. You meet other people, and also it's good for your mental state to kind of just be around other people and to understand their challenges as well, and to kind of relate to them. It can be very good for you on a mental aspect of it, and which is something really really important for game developers. I think we tend to be very we can have like it can be very difficult on our mental state, working by ourselves. So I think it's important to try to find like colleagues or people
who motivate you and you them, yeah.
Exactly, who motivate you and kind of like inspire you
True.
to work better.
True.
Yeah. Okay. But I think we're fortunate because we have a lot of Discord groups like that deal with these things, and even Reddit as well. But sometimes on Reddit the groups can be so large that there can be a lot of negativity, and
True.
so it's I always find that it's nicer to have smaller groups where it doesn't become too large. But so if you can find a small group of developers who have kind of like the same taste, like in like game genres as you, like that would be really cool. Like, because like you're a developer yourself, I assume.
Yeah, I do. We do make video games. Yeah.
Do you use Unreal or like Unity? Or?
Unity. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So on Discord they have like a Unity
group,
Discord channel. Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's quite large though, right? They have a lot of people there.
Sure.
Yeah. I always feel like they should have like a specific group for specific genres. Like they should have like Unity, like FPS developers, Unity casual game developers, and I don't know if they have that, but they should have that.
I assume they do not have, but I feel like people who would like to have these groups, they already made it, right? On Facebook or on Twitter or on Discord for themselves. Yeah, so yeah.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So I feel like that's more helpful.
True, I agree.
Yeah,
because you can like ask very specific questions
about
those genres,
exactly.
Or ideas, or if you have an idea, you can pitch to them and show them and ask for like feedback. Yeah, exactly. Okay. I experienced.
What kind of games do you develop? What kind of games
mostly point and click, but I have a lot of ideas. So I have a lot of ideas. I would also like to make. I loved the idea. I'm not sure if you have seen that game or played that game. There was a Lord of the Rings game, which was like a TPS game, and it basically was very similar to Star Wars Battlefront games. It was the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 era. I'm not sure what was the exact name of the game, but it was like you could it was a PvP game basically.
Oh, PvP.
Yeah, it was a PvP game. Yeah,
and from third person.
Yeah. It had like a control mode where like there were 3 control points and you had to cap in order to win. There was team deathmatch and all these regular modes the Star Wars Battlefront have, just set in the Lord of the Rings universe. So I would love to make a game set in some universes that I like, similar to this genre or this genre.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because I feel like that's what we are lacking nowadays, because we are getting a lot of like very similar genres, but we are like forgetting about old school genres that we like used to love, like these type of games. And I feel like for the multiplayer part, I also feel like we are missing what you have mentioned. I totally agree with you on that, is that we are missing those very fast-paced action movie influenced PvP games as well, or story games as well. For me, I always loved PvP games for their fast-paced action, and for me it was very important to have very fast-paced action in PvP games. I feel like nowadays games, PvP multiplayer games, they nerf down the gameplay movement speed a bit, so it's like it's weird. And I feel like it's because of the player's choice, because I feel like a lot of people are crying all over the internet, on Reddit, on Twitter, everywhere, that hey, it's too fast game, which is I can understand. Like they would like to have a slower response so they can react, like we talked about it. But still, at the end of the day, I feel like I don't know. I miss those very fast games, especially in first person genre.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I guess that's kind of like it's related to that question you had, where your target audience should like they're trying to target like too many people, and
True,
so
true,
by
true.
targeting
Exactly,
such a
exactly,
large audience, they
And
have to
that's how
slow,
they
slow
lose
the game.
the core audience, in my opinion. I always
Yeah,
say this,
yeah,
that
exactly.
if you like loosen up your vision and you give too much
Yeah.
energy to listen to the old of the community members and players, you know, who can be the part of this niche group, then you will loosen up this tight space and you will get people to play your game, but not for always, right? I can name an example. I love the finals. It's an awesome game in my
Oh,
opinion,
yeah.
but they nerfed the movement of the game because of the lot of players were like crying all over the internet. And now it's like you can slide twice, slide, jump, and then you will stop in the movement. And it's crazy because like it's way slower than it used to be, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. So, it used to be you can slide constantly, right? Slide
Constantly,
jumps.
yeah, without stopping. Yeah, exactly. How many times you wanted, you could do that forever on the map, like basically like bunny hopping all over the map. And they nerfed it to like 2 slides and 2 jumps, and then you just lose your stamina and you can just, you know, very slowly run, which is more tactical, of course, and more available or approachable for, you know, more casual players. But yeah, the core audience who used to love the movement, they miss that stuff in the game. The game is still fun, the game is still enjoyable. I'm not saying that the game is bad in any way. It's just like, yeah, we miss the movement. So yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, we had a similar problem with Counter-Strike. We used to have bunny hopping as well. Like in Counter-Strike, the player could like just constantly jump. So that we had to. We just basically nerfed it. So after jumping too many times, he has to like he pauses. The player
Yeah.
will stop for a while. But I think that was a good decision. It made the gameplay feel more like more tactical.
True, it's understandable. No, for Counter-Strike, it's understandable. But for the finals, which is a way more faster game, I think it was like half, you know, 50-50.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like Unreal Tournament where the movement was very fast.
Yeah, exactly. Or like Quake, exactly. If you would nerf down the movement in Quake or Unreal, it would be not that game. Like it's that game, which is crazy fast, and you have to react crazy fast. Yeah, exactly. So sometimes I do not understand the decision of listening to the players who cried all their internet, but it is what it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. That's a good good observation. Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
I mean, I guess maybe it's just like maybe they just got too many criticism about it because maybe they had like a poll. They should have had a poll.
I also feel like, from my experiences, since I played a lot of multiplayer games, I feel like sometimes companies, not on the developer side, but on the publisher side, make these drastic changes to games as like, we always joke with this, but I think it's true as well. Like the statement of mine that it's content basically. Because if you think about that, if they change something very drastical, then people have to relearn the game, right? From the basics.
Yes.
Basically, I can name an example, like Bungie's Destiny and Destiny 2. Destiny was a very stable game with very fixed, like, you know, gameplay mechanics. And then in Destiny 2, for the PvP part, they started to change on a monthly base for the stats of the weapons, how the weapons deal damage, how the weapons behave. And people basically had to relearn the game and the mechanics of the weapons from month to month, which was crazy, you know, because you got used to one weapon, you started to love that weapon, and you could throw it out to the trash bin after months, which was crazy to me. Like, and it was content basically, if you could think about it, right? So it's content too, because you have to relearn the game from the basics.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's content, so they can sell like
true.
Sell
True. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just like for those people who want something, you know, that is stable and it's there for so many years. I don't know. It's probably I'm a more old school player. That's why I'm loving if something sticks to its roots, you know, and it's not changing that much. I also like changes. So, for example, we talked about Fortnite. I played Fortnite too, and I love how many changes they brought into that game. But still, if I would have to choose, I would say I'm more old school when it comes to changes, and I like to have not that many changes in games, because I feel like we talked about it, sometimes developers can listen to the people and make the wrong decision, right? Because they think that a lot of people complained about this feature or that feature, and they change and they realize that, hey, it wasn't a good decision. So I don't blame them. It's just, it's sad that, I always say this, it's sad that all over the internet, players have so much influence nowadays on games, and I feel like that's how the industry got to this point of breaking itself, because a lot of developers were down on the road because of this high influential level from players to change a lot of games, right? And that's how they ended up like having games for everyone, but basically for no one.
Yeah, I guess because they don't want to lose their player base.
Exactly, exactly. And they are scared, and they are seeing this, that, hey, it might work, it might not. But I'm not blaming them. It's just I feel like I said, players have too much voice nowadays. And it's very hard to put yourself into that position where you're not sure either you have to listen to them or no. Because like at the end of the day, it's not a win-win challenge, right? It's a risk that you can take or you should take.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's always hard to decide whether or not you should listen to this or that.
True.
Yeah. It's as long as the game is still like the finals is still kind of doing pretty well, like in terms of player numbers. So I guess that's the final.
It does. Luckily, it does.
Decision for them.
And I think a lot of games does. It's just I feel like I said, it's sometimes I feel like there are so many big games which have this opportunity of like expanding the player base, and a lot of like companies see that, hey, maybe we should do this as well, and it will work out, but it's not working out. Like I loved playing the Multiverses. It's a platform fighting game, and I even competed in that game, and it's now gone. Right? You can just play it in offline mode.
The one by Warner Brothers?
Yeah, it was, and made by Player First Games, exactly. And I loved that game, and it's like there was once a server shut down in the beta stadium, and now it's gone forever. So, and it was the only game that could challenge Smash Brothers, because it made such a huge audience by, I don't know, 1 week in the beta stadium, that it was challenging bigger numbers than Smash did in the past. So, but to a lot of decisions, as I see, they made, like they wanted to open up the fields for so many players, like they invented shields into the game, and they made the game more campier, more slower, and it just got to a point where like core players who really like, went to tournaments, who were professionals, they just gave up on the game, because they said that, hey, why should I play the game if everyone can compete from day one and be good from day one? It's like not a learning phase anymore, right? So
they decreased the skill gap.
Exactly. It was not easy to learn hard to master, but it was easy to master. Like you could just easily go against everyone and be better than them. So it's like, and it's sad, because like I said, I still have passion for the game. I still have like, hopes that the game will be back. It's just I see that I don't know. Some decisions can make this go on a journey where games will end their service. It's sad. Yeah.
That's too bad.
Yeah, exactly. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Any questions? Let us know. You will be able to ask questions in my Discord server as well if you missed asking, but let us know. I know it's late on my end. It's almost 11 p.m., but don't be shy, don't be sleepy. Hölgyek, urak, hogyha bármilyen kérdés van, tényleg nyugodtan kérdezzetek. Szívesen várom a kérdéseteket. Let us know if you have any questions. Don't be sleepy, don't be lurking.
Where are you based?
Hungary, Budapest.
Oh, Hungary.
Yeah,
Budapest.
Yeah.
That's near Romania, is it?
It is.
Oh, okay, yeah, interesting. I was actually in Serbia in January. Serbia, and I think is Serbia close to Romania and Hungary?
I'm not good at what is it called? Geography, but I think yes.
Yeah.
I was good at geography, but I forgot a lot. So
yeah. Oh, interesting. Is there a big game development community in?
There are a lot of companies. For example, there is a company who made Chicken Police. It's a point-and-click adventure game, if you know about that. There is like a game called Mandragora. It's also a Hungarian-made game. It was released like 1 or 2 months ago. It got very popular. So there are a lot of Hungarian companies. There is also cannot recall the name of the game. King Arthur, maybe a strategy game. There's also that game. So there are a few Hungarian development studios. It's just I feel like what I always say is that here in Hungary and in European countries, I think that the culture of making games and playing games is way lower than, for example, in American-based places. Because here, I think that we are socialized that we have to do a 9-to-5 job, and it's very risky to make games, right? And even if you go to university, they try to support you in a way to make games, but not on the way like, for example, in America, university does. So I feel like we still have to learn the culture, how to make games, and not just how to make games, but how to believe in ourselves in order to make games and take risks in order to release a game. So I don't think that it's the lack of like knowledge, because there are so many like very talented, artists, programmers here in Hungary too, just like they are scared, or either they get to a company abroad and they start to work for other companies rather than, sticking to their own vision and sacrificing and taking a risk to work on their own game.
Yeah. I always feel like, well, I think for a lot of young game developers who are coming out of school or just starting up, I think it's for them it's a lot safer for them if they can find a job in a bigger company.
True.
And just kind of learn the ropes and just kind of gain some experience before they can
and they will get to have more confidence in their life in order to start their very own project with passion, right?
Yeah.
So they can always do that if they are healthy enough and have the money to invest in it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Because So how long have you been developing games yourself?
For like 3 or 4 years now. I started like 3 or 4 years ago. I always had ideas, by the way. So my very first passion was writing books when I was like, 14 or 15. And I combined my passion of writing books and poems with video games. That's how I started being a video game journalist for so many years until this point. But like I worked for so many companies here in Hungary and in other countries too as a video game journalist. But I felt like nowadays media is really like making this very negative criticism about developers and video games, and I had read so many like these bad articles which like try to put a bad like point about developers and their games, and I hated it, and that's how I left all the companies that I worked for as a video game journalist and just started this show, my Dev Live, because I felt like I need to put out my positive vision about that. Yes, it's human beings who make games, and you have to like connect with them on a human level in order to understand their projects, what they are making, and they are not evil who would like to steal your money, and it's crazy because like I talked to so many developers. It's our episode, this 142nd episode, and I talked to so many developers who got even real death stress, like people were sending, some pictures of weapons that they want to kill the developer. And it's crazy. Like, why are you doing it? Like, and I want to stop this. I know it's like I'm pissing against the wind, as I say always, but I would like to stop this. I have such passion for video games. I'm still that naive kid who likes to consume and play every game and to talk about games. And it's getting rare. Like, even my best friends say that I'm this, dying guy dinosaur who is like, loves to play all the games, because nowadays gamers, they just trend gamers, in my opinion. They play games, but they do not, talk or get involved. And in my opinion, the niche people or group of people who really are involved in video games are the developers, and I think that people would have to be educated about games, just like we are educated about everything. I always joke with this that we are considering video games as forms of art, but still at the end of the day we say things like, hey, this game is trash, hey, that game is trash. But if we go to the I don't know which museum in France to see the Mona Lisa painting, we are not saying that Mona Lisa is trash, right? We never said that, because we were educated enough to form opinions about some parts of art, but we should be educated about video games as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully games will become more respected, I guess.
I would love to see that point of life, yes, and I hope that I will live through that point of my life to see that day. Yeah. And I'm hoping that I'm contributing enough to this, because like I said, I still have a huge passion for games, not just making, but playing them. And I have a huge love for developers who sacrifice their time, energy, vision, mental health, everything in their life in order to get us players the best games. Because I feel like, I always say this, there are no trash games. Like even the buggiest game can mean something for you. And I feel like what our people are not educated enough is that, like, you have to understand as a player why you are playing that exact game. What can you like in that game or love that is for you. And if it's not for you, that's fine. You can move on, right? If I'm playing a game for its gameplay or music or story or PvP or fast-paced action or being tactical, you have to understand these core visions. Like you mentioned too, like they have to understand the vision. Either it's like lose-lose for the developer and for the audience as well.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, there is a question, by the way. No, actually, two questions. What emotions did you have back then when you had success with Counter-Strike or with other games? And how have you been dealing with negativity from players from the very starting points in your life when you experienced the first negative comments or...
So
Minnie is asking this question.
Yeah. So, what emotions did I feel when I saw the success of Counter-Strike?
Yes.
Well, I think it would probably be like the best emotion that you can imagine. It felt like winning the lottery, because prior to that, I was making other games as well, so they never really became so successful.
I see.
So, when I saw that success, it really just felt like, oh my God, this is like the best feeling in the world, to get that recognition. It felt like you won the Oscar. So I haven't really been able to achieve that amount of success. So that was probably the highlight of my career.
I see.
But I still enjoy making games, even though I was never gonna be as successful as that time. It's because I just feel like it's just something that, like, it's my creative passion. It's just I keep making games because I hope that I can find someone that can enjoy the same thing that I enjoy. So that would probably be my emotion when I first met it. And to the second part of the question, like, how do I deal with the negativity? So as I mentioned, it gets easier over time the more you deal with it. But I think one thing that always helps is whenever I feel like I'm being overwhelmed with criticism. One thing that I like to do is I like to just step away from the computer, go outside and talk to someone who is not in the game industry. Just talk to someone else about, to connect with other people who are not game developers. And so that kind of takes my mind off of game development. Sometimes I'll watch a movie, that's always helpful, but it's just something to kind of take your mind away from game development, to not focus on those negative thoughts. I think that really helps a lot. So, and I'm also just like sometimes I'll read a book to kind of, I find like sometimes like, as I said, just doing anything that will take your mind away from the negativity. I feel like that's really helpful for me. It allows me to just kind of focus on something that's positive, focus on something that can give you some enjoyment,
get back some energy from it.
Yes, exactly. And then you can get some strength and then maybe come back and then deal with the feedback. True. But I think that's a very important thing to try not to forget about your mental state.
True.
Like,
because
don't get too burnt out.
We are humans, like you said, and it's very true.
And it's easy to get burnt out from reading too much negativity.
Very true. Thank you for the question and the answer as well. Next question goes from Lukács. Favorite in-game music or favorite in-game
music. It's funny because, like, a lot of times when I play games, I don't really like, most of the music doesn't really like affect me too much. I'm trying to think of a game that I felt like, wow, that music was really great. I think it was probably like a Japanese game.
Okay.
I feel like Japanese game have really good soundtracks.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah.
I can't remember the game, but
their music is more sensitive, in my opinion, like more human based, so. Emotional based.
Yeah, more emotional.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah, I think it was probably like probably one of the Final Fantasy games or something. Or yeah,
you got me with that because Final Fantasy X is my all-time favorite game, by the way.
Yeah. Those are really classics.
True. Very true.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the question and the answer as well. Okay, Boomer is asking more community maps in active map pool, new matchmaking algorithm. These two questions. I'm guessing he's asking this for Counter-Strike.
So actually, I'm not really involved in the development of Counter-Strike, but I do kind of keep up to date on what's going on.
Okay.
And I think I do believe Valve are working on like. I think recently in the recent update they introduced more maps.
Okay.
And I think that's a great thing because one of the best things about developing Counter-Strike in the early days is we used to get new maps every week. Like every week we would get like 10 new maps. True. And it was really fun just to play all of these new maps. Even though some of them were like actually most of them were really bad, it was just fun to experience these new maps.
Very true. I agree on that. And I miss those times where like multiplayer games had a lot of maps on a weekly basis. I feel like having a map, lot of variety, exactly. It always kept the fun ongoing, and I feel like a lot of games nowadays missing that part of like having new maps because most of the companies release like 4 maps on a 3 months level, so it's like not that much, let's say.
Yeah, well, I mean, part of it is because it's very difficult to
exactly.
Make
I know. I don't blame them. It's just like it's.
But I think with Counter-Strike, they should probably. I wish that they would make it easier for players to be able to play community-made maps. Because I think there's a lot of community-made maps out there, but it's not really easy for a player to like install the map.
True.
It's a lot of work. So hopefully Valve can make that a little bit easier, so you can play maps a little bit easier.
True.
Kind of like in like when I play like Roblox, it's so easy to just play like different mods,
True.
Even though like most of them are really shitty, it's you can kind of like find pretty fun mods and just kind of try them, and it just adds so much variety to the gameplay.
It's like implemented instantly into the game,
Yeah, exactly. So it's part of the whole. Experience. Yeah. It's part of the user interface where you can just you can just browse for all the different maps and like it's kind of like browsing in Netflix. You can just I feel like playing this style of map or that kind of stuff.
Very true.
So hopefully Valve can implement something like that, but I think they can. So we'll see.
The other question from Boomer was, do you feel like Counter-Strike will have a new matchmaking algorithm?
Actually, I'm not too familiar with the current one. I don't know what the problems are in the current one, because I never really got into the competitive matchmaking of Counter-Strike. Like I stopped playing Counter-Strike in 2005. Or 2007 or something like that. So that was before they even had matchmaking. So we were just like we were playing with like anybody, random people. So I don't really have much experience with how bad or good the matchmaking is right now. So but I'm pretty confident Valve will improve upon it if there's a problem with it, because they've always shown like an ability to kind of fix a lot of the issues. Like, because I remember when CS:GO came out, it had a lot of problems. People were complaining a lot about this or that or this. But over the years, they've been able to make CS:GO like one of the more popular versions of Counter-Strike. So yeah, I have no doubt that they'll do the same with CS2.
It just takes time, and people have to have patience, right? So
exactly. And I think the thing about Valve is people know that they tend to work quite slowly, right? So they take their time. So they take their time to get it right. So I think that's the thing. So yeah, I guess unfortunately you just have to be patient with Valve and just hopefully they'll get there. Yeah.
Thank you for the question and answer. Any Other question? Oh, there is real-time making environment, weather, power outage, flooded areas, sandstorm. I'm not sure if it's a question, but I'm guessing it's a question.
Mm-hmm. I think he's just talking about is it possible to do that in games like in Counter-Strike or just in games in general?
I think in games in general, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would be an awesome feature to have like real-time like environmental effects, like like having like the rain like flooding like a room or a building.
Sure.
Or having but it's challenging from a technical standpoint to do all of that because like if it's a multiplayer game, it's even more challenging.
Sure.
Because you have to network that and you have to like deal with all of that.
Uncharted,
I mean, I think.
No, sorry for interrupting.
Yeah,
I just wanted to say an example that Uncharted 3 on PlayStation 3 in that multiplayer segment, because it's a story-oriented game, but there was a multiplayer from Uncharted 2, 3, and 4. And in Uncharted 3, there were two multiplayer maps. One was Airstrip, and second was like a train wreck, or train station or something. And they had two versions of those maps, and in one version you could like have an intro where on train station there was like two trains going next to each other, and in the multiplayer PvP part you could like jump here and there, and it was like two animations of trains going into one direction. And on the Airstrip you could like, there was like a huge plane, and in the back of the plane there were like cars driving, and you could like hop from cars to car and into the plane as well. So basically it was like a dynamic event, let's say an intro of the fixed map. And after the intro has stopped, like for, I don't know, one team had to achieve like 10 kills or something, it switched with an animation that the plane crashed into the map or the train crashed into the exact map, and then you went for the fixed map where there were no like dynamic events.
That's actually very cool. I've never played it.
It was made by Naughty Dog, by the way, who made Crash Bandicoot, Uncharted, Jack and Dexter, and Last of Us. Yeah,
that's really cool. I wish more games.
Exactly. And it's funny because a lot of people haven't even heard that game had multiplayer. I was a huge fan. I basically grew up on Uncharted 2's multiplayer, and seeing on PlayStation 3 that these two maps have intros like that, it was crazy. Like, come on, it's a dynamic map. Like.
That sounds really cool. It actually reminds me of something that Unreal Tournament 2004. They did something similar. In Unreal Tournament 2004, like when you play multiplayer, the two teams, they would start on the map, but as the map would progress, like you would beat different parts of the map. So like in the first stage of the map, you would play in this part of of a train, and then once you beat that stage, it would move to another part of the map. So it kind of sounded like the same of what you described in Uncharted, where as the multiplayer
progresses.
The multiplayer was kind of like it was like split. It was split into different portions. Like you would, for the first part, you would play here, and then you would play here, and it was really cool. It was like dynamic, and like you would just. It kind of felt like playing a single player game, but like in a multi.
True. And it kept the player's tension on a very high level because you had to be on the lookout react what's happening right now.
Now the level is
exactly
over here,
exactly. It was crazy good. Like I remember for the first time seeing those two maps, I was like, hey, it's PlayStation 3 and it's dynamic map with intro. Like, what the hell? Like, come on. And I'm missing those experiences. I feel like these days a lot of like these games are not risking the possibility to have these options in games. I'm not sure why. Maybe or probably because it takes way more time and way more work.
It is. It sounds like it takes a lot of resources to,
and also like to implement it in the multiplayer segments of the game, right?
Even harder.
Even very harder. Very challenging. Yeah, exactly.
But I found Battlefield does a pretty good job.
Exactly.
Yeah, I used to play Battlefield 1 a lot, and that was really fun.
Me too. That's why I love the finals, because it was made by Battlefield veterans. It was made by DICE veterans. They formed Embark Studios, and that's how they made finals. The finals.
They're very talented. They're very talented.
Yeah. Thank you for the question and answer as well. And Boomer has one more question. I'm not sure what's the long question, but like the summarization of the question. So, what about anti-cheat? I am guessing he's bringing up the topic of anti-cheat in games. What's your opinion about anti-cheat?
Well, it's something that we've had, like, I've seen it ever since the very first Counter-Strike, like even
Okay.
in 2002, we've had these problems with cheating. And it's just, I mean, as a developer, it's very frustrating because it just takes a lot of our resources. We don't have time to focus on anti-cheating.
True.
And it's really it's a really big problem, unfortunately. And it's one of the reasons why I didn't want to make a PvP game, because I didn't really want to deal with the cheating aspect of it. So I'm hopeful that somebody smart out there will come up with something that's really
Me too. Yeah.
really effective. Well, because I know some games like Valorant, they use a very aggressive anti-cheat. Like they call it like a kernel level anti-cheat, which you kind of have to load it, and it kind of goes very low level. And apparently, it's pretty effective. Like in order to defeat this cheat, you have to do a lot of like very low level things to your computer in order to bypass the cheat. So it kind of prevents a lot of the casual cheaters, like just people who just like don't want to mess around with their windows and kind of. But if you really want to defeat it, you can, but you have to like really you have to modify your operating system. So I think it's an effective way of kind of battling the casual cheaters. Yeah. But yeah, as I mentioned, it's a very controversial system because many players, they don't really want to have like something like a kernel level anti-cheat.
True.
Because it gets installed on a very low level part of Windows.
True.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, I think the ideal situation is maybe hopefully if Microsoft can implement something in Windows where you can run your game in like a protected
modes.
Virtualization mode,
that you cannot open other programs, just the ones that support the game, like Discord. Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. So I'm not sure if that's technically possible, but I mean, as someone who works at Microsoft, they may be able to kind of elaborate on that. But unfortunately, I don't think video games is as a high priority for Microsoft, so they probably don't want to. They don't want to. They don't have time to deal with that shit. But I mean, I think as the game industry is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, maybe eventually Microsoft will pay attention to this problem.
True. Because of esports and other places where gaming is growing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe in 10 years we might have a
maybe, hopefully.
But yeah, as of now, it's difficult.
It is.
Because like when you play the finals, do you encounter cheating sometimes?
I mean, I think it's rare that I got into cheaters or bumped into cheaters. The crossplay is working very good in the finals, I would say.
Okay, so playing with console players, it's better because they never cheat.
Yeah. And also I feel like, I don't know. So I feel like nowadays it's very hard to say who is cheating, who is not, right? Because there are like very soft cheats, in my opinion. Yeah, exactly. So they are like tuning some weapons, and that's all. And I don't know. It's a hard thing to address, like you said, and I agree. And I also, since I'm an old school player and I grew up on very old school multiplayer games where you had to like learn the hard way how to deal with better players than yourself. I was taught by my friends who I started playing with that even if it's a cheater, you can defeat him. I know it sounds very strange, but it's true. For example, like a wallhack cheater, if you are like approaching a wallhack cheater in a match, you should be more careful when you're jumping out of the walls. For example, if you are jumping out to the left and there is a wall to your left, you have to take carefully and aim straight when you're jumping out of the wall, right? And that's how you deal, because you will gain advantage when you're aiming straight to your left if you're jumping left from the wall. That's just one example. And I feel like I was lucky enough to grow up in a community where these players taught me how to deal with cheaters. And I feel like nowadays, more casual-based players, they are just getting angry on cheaters, and since they do not have the time to put and invest into learning the game, that's how they end up like being angry on cheaters, which is understandable because I don't like cheating as well. It's just I know that if I will be good enough, I might be able to defeat and overcome cheaters, especially in team-oriented games, because the better players you have next to yourself, and if you are getting better, team shot is king, right? So even if that player is like aiming professionally, you can make the call out, team shot the player, and he's gone. Like
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's why like games like Battlefield, I mean, like when you have 30 players versus 30
True,
players,
true,
sometimes
true.
yeah, it's more important about the strategy
True, exactly. I have a very cool memory of Battlefield 3 where I was playing with two of my good friends, Bogus and Kota, and we were playing on which map? There was a marketplace of the map. I cannot recall the full name of the map.
Battlefield 2?
Battlefield 3, and there was a marketplace at the A side of the map. It was a control that we were playing. I cannot recall the name of the map, sorry for that. But the example of mine was, and the memory of mine with my two good friends on PlayStation 3 was like, we were playing that game and we had a disadvantage. And I remember the ticket system that Battlefield back then had and even now has. And we had a disadvantage. We had 60 tickets and they had like 600 tickets. And we pushed them back to A side to market and we won the whole match. And it was like a, I don't know, 2 hours match. It's crazy long match, right? Nowadays it's just 20 minutes mostly and you are gone for the other match. And we had to be so patient and so focused for 2 hours long and we won the match.
That's incredible. Yeah. I mean, Battlefield can be really great.
Exactly.
I've played some great matches where it has some really crazy moments.
True. And the ticket system is very clever because, like, if somebody is dying, they will lose one ticket if it's control mode.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So, yeah, that's a crazy turnaround from 60 to 600.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest memories and matches of our career in Battlefield 3. Yeah, and that's why we play video games, for these memories, right? You mentioned with Street Fighter, arcade games, and for me, for Battlefield, Uncharted 3 and Uncharted 2 and all these games, all these great games.
Yeah, exactly. I think video games is a very important genre industry.
True.
It can really build some great
and teach
memories.
us and make communities, form families, second families for people.
Yeah. So that's why I enjoy being part of the game industry. I just want to be a part of an industry where
I can tell that you're passionate, and I love your passion about making games and playing games. It's important at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, I've been very fortunate because I got in the game industry in 2000. So back then, it was actually much easier to get into the game industry. True.
It wasn't flooded with so many people.
Exactly. Yeah. Now it's very challenging. I have a lot of colleagues that have a harder time to get into the game industry because it's very competitive. So
true.
Yeah,
even if you don't want to compete, you have to compete, right? For a living.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a challenge. So
true.
Hopefully.
True. Yeah. Thank you, by the way. Thank you for all the questions from the chat and for you being here. We touched a lot of topics. Is there anything that you would like to talk about at this very moment of our interview?
Yeah. It was a really great interview, though.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
There was some really great questions which I never really been asked before, and I think they're very important. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's
I can tell that you're a game developer, so you have a different perspective.
And also, I care about the people who make games, like I said, and I would like to have a more positive, bubble in which players and developers can come together and understand each other. In my opinion, it's very important, especially for us who love playing video games and make video games, because it's our life, basically, right? So, yeah.
Are you going to be at Gamescom? Do you know Gamescom?
I was twice, but this summer I probably won't be able to go for Gamescom.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's too bad. Actually, I will probably be at Gamescom in August this year, so I was hoping.
If not this year, maybe next year. Who knows? Who knows what future holds?
Yeah. Maybe we can meet in person one day.
That would be lovely. Thank you for that.
Yes. Thank you. But yeah, I think I pretty much had a really good time, and we covered a lot of great topics, and this was a really informative interview, with even for myself. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like I said,
thank you for having me.
Me too. Like I said, I will need some more of your minutes of stream to discuss something. And for those who were with us here, watching us live on Twitch, or will be watching back the VOD version on Twitch or on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to check out our friends' game here on Steam, and also be on the lookout for future projects, hopefully, as well. Thank you so much for being here